Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next week. 10 days in today's video is going to take us up to the start of August. So we're going into the final month of the summer with this update. But a pretty warm summer down in the south and east of the country. We'll start off with central temperature, and it's running above average for July. June was above average as well. So we're having a pretty decent summer down in the southeast. It's not been as good in the north and west, though, of course. So we'll have a look at detail on that in a second. And then I think the trend through the next week, 10 days, will probably be to move increasingly unsettled conditions southwards and eastwards down across the country. So even in the southeast, I would think that particularly by the end of this weekend, then into next week, we're likely to start getting some bands of rain beginning to push through from the northwest. It's been quite a dry spell down in the southeast over the past month, but I think that's going to break a little bit over the coming week to 10 days. So I'll get on with that in a second. Before I get on with that, though, just to say about our charity fundraiser. So throughout July, we've been raising money for the Warwickshire and Northamptonshire Air Ambulance, and we're going to carry on running this through to the end of the month. So we've got another week left. It's going to finish on Sunday, our charity event. We currently stand, our balance in terms of how much we've raised, currently stands at an incredible £906.54. And this is way, way above anything that I was expecting us to get. So big thank to everybody that's donated. We have 59 donations so far. And a huge thank you to everybody that has donated to this appeal. As I say, we've still got a few days left. We're going to finish on Sunday, and I'm hoping we'll be able to get this up a bit more. Our target is £1,000. If we can get to £1,000 by the end of July, I think that really will be a very incredible amount of money, literally incredible. I wasn't expecting anything in this sort of level of the money we would raise. So huge thanks to everybody for their donations so far, and let's see if we can get up to £1,000 by the time we get through to the end of the month. Now, you can donate in two ways. You can come to our Just Giving page, and this is it. So I'll leave the link in the description box at YouTube. There's also links throughout GavService.com. Of course, you click the link, you come to this page. You know it's the right page because there's GavService logo. It also says Gavin page. There's a little bit of a write-up about why we're raising this money. So to donate, you just click the yellow donate button. It will take you to another page where very safely and securely, Just Giving is a completely secure site, so very safely and securely, you put in your card details and you donate the amount that you wish or can afford to donate. The other way of doing it is via text, so you can text your donation by using our code, which is GWVS77, and the amount you would like to donate can be anything from £1 upwards, and you text it to 770. And if you pay as you go, then quite simply, the amount you donate will be taken off your balance. If you pay via a bill, then the amount you'll donate will go on to your next bill cycle. Of course, don't forget to get the bill payer's permission before you do that. Don't want anybody having any shocks or surprises when their bill comes in. So you just very simply donate the amount you would like, and that goes straight to the air ambulance. Just Giving passes that straight on to the charity, and it's just a fantastic thing that we're doing. I think we're doing a very fantastic thing to raise this money for the Warwickshire and Northamptonshire Air Ambulance. They're a completely charitable organisation. They don't receive any money from the government or the National Health Service or general taxation, so everything from a helicopter right way down to smallest blasters has to be paid for via your donations. Even the doctors that fly with the air ambulance do so on a voluntary basis. So a big thank you to everybody for doing this. We've got a few more days to run. We're going to finish it on Sunday. Let's see if we can get this up to £1,000. I hope that we can. So we'll start with the central temperature. As I say, this is the latest from Hadley at the UK Met Office. So provisionally up to the 24th of July, which is yesterday, we stand at 17.0, which is an anomaly of 1 degree above average. And that follows on from June, which came out at 15.2. And again, that was an anomaly of around a degree above average. And then May, before that, was very warm, 12.5, anomaly of 1.5 degrees above average. So we're having a pretty decent summer down in the south and southeast. It may not feel like we've had that great a summer, but I can tell you that there aren't that many summers that come out with this sort of deviation. Certainly over a long time frame. There have been a lot of summers in the last 20, 30 years that have done this, but over a long time frame, looking over 200-300 years, it's a pretty decent summer that we're having down in the south and east of the country. That's not the case of the north and west. We're close to the jet stream in the northwest of the country, so Scotland, Northern Ireland has always been cooler and cloudier. That's going to continue through the coming week to 10 days, but the difference is that these cooler, cloudier conditions are going to extend south and eastwards down across the country. 2016 is turning into a pretty warm year, actually. January came out around 1.5 degrees above average. February also came out around a degree above average. We've got a couple of cooler months in March and April, but that apart, generally, 2016 turning into another really quite warm year, following on, of course, from last year's exceptional warm. So pretty decent summer down in the southeast, not as good in the north and the west so far. Having looked at the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days, we've got the E70F here on the top and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure. Low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure and red and orange extrapolates to high pressure. So for the coming week to 10 days, we've got a trough of low pressure to the north of the country and in the Atlantic as well on the E70F. The lines here indicating the jet stream, they're coming through the country. So this does imply quite a changeable period. Notice there's orange up around Greenland as well. That's not normally a very good sign at this time of year. It implies quite a changeable and quite an unsettled end to July and start to August with a proper Atlantic flow. GFS is very similar. This is it, and we can see we've got a little bit more ridging down to the south of the country, some sort of above average heights around Spain and the Bay of Biscay. But overall, it's still the same idea, which is low pressure coming in off the Atlantic with a fairly strong jet stream, fairly strong for the time of year anyway, not strong by sort of autumn winter standards, but it is a fairly strong jet stream for the middle of summer, moving the air in off the Atlantic Ocean. So there's bound to be, very least, bands of showery rain coming down across the country, maybe even longer spells of rain, particularly so in the north and west. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. So we're going to be a bit cooler than average, really, over the coming week. Dates on the bottom of the chart of the course. So this is next week. This is Monday the 1st of August, just there. And up to that point, generally quite a cool period. So that central temperature may tick down a little bit over the next 2 or 3 days or over next week. I have to remember with these, they're upper air temperature, so down on the surface with the heat from the sun. If the sun comes out, it's still going to be warm. And maybe even a little bit warmer than average in some of the towns and cities if the sun is out for any length of time. But in terms of the upper air temperatures, they are a bit cooler than average. As we go through into August, there's no real sign of any extended warm period, to be honest, although there is a lot of scatter there as going into the extended range of the GFS ensemble. So some of these ensemble members do go for a little mini heat wave, but other members of the ensemble are quite cool. So I really don't think we can deduce a lot there for that first week of August. There's too much scatter, really, other than to say a prolonged spell of hot weather isn't supported. But there are several members there that do turn quite hot for a time in the first half of August, but they're offset by the cooler members. So the white line here, I don't often talk about white line, that's the ensemble mean, and the white line just stays around the 30-year average, and that's because we've got the hotter members being offset by the cooler members. So there's not enough there really to be able to deduce a trend for the first week of August, other than to say it's likely to be quite a changeable period, perhaps quite an uncertain period because of the scatter within the ensemble. Precipitation spikes, they're coming back, so the next couple of days look fairly dry, but after that, rainfall spikes are coming back. This is for London, so it's even down into the southeast, so we're bringing some rain through, and then we go into the first week of August, so we keep those precipitation spikes going there. So that's why I say it's probably like to be quite a changeable week, that first week of August, just for temperatures that are more uncertain. Let's have a look at another city in Manchester to see how wet that is looking. So this is the Manchester ensemble, and that's looking even wetter. Of course, you expect it to be so because the flow is off the Atlantic, so the north and west is going to get more rain compared to the south and east. And it does look quite an unsettled period, actually. I have to say, it is a very unsettled looking ensemble for the middle of summer up in Manchester. Again, the temperatures don't look anything particularly special either. So it does look as though I'm going into a more unsettled and cooler phase as we're going into this point of, well, this is high summer, sort of last week of July, first week of August. It used to be known as factory fortnight. It's the peak of the temperatures on average, and it looks like this year we're going into more of a cooler, unsettled phase. Temperature anomalies for the coming week, it's going from the 25th of July to the 2nd of August, generally come out cooler than average. Precipitation anomalies from 25th of July through 2nd of August, generally coming out average, even a little bit above. Though, interestingly, Scotland is a little bit drier on average. I'm not sure quite how we explain that one. Generally, it's a cooler and unsettled period. So here's the GFS for Friday. We've got low pressure up to the northeast Scotland, bringing down this showery northwesterly flow. That's quite cool as well. If you follow the isobars back, you can see that the air is originating from somewhere up here, moving down across the country. So although it is moderated by the sea, it's going to be fairly cool air coming down across the country at the end of the week. Go through into weekend, and it still looks quite showery. We've got a ridge out to west. Low pressure is to the east. Again, if you follow the isobars back, the air is originating from up here somewhere, so it is likely to be fairly cool at the weekend. Go through into next week. This is Monday, the 1st of August, so the first day of the last month of summer 2016. We're building a little bit of a ridge from the Atlantic, but it doesn't last all that long. It's soon flattened off by this next area of low pressure starting to move in. As we go up towards day 10, this is Wednesday the 3rd of August, and then on to day 10, Thursday the 4th of August. It looks unsettled, doesn't it, with low pressure around the country, albeit a little bit of a transient ridge trying to build here. There's a bit of a bump in the isobars occurring there, so that's a little bit of a transient ridge. But this next low pressure is in the Atlantic, and you would assume that's just going to ride over top of the ridge and keep us in an unsettled phase. ECWF is very similar, so Friday has a trough of low pressure over country. There's likely to be showers or longer spells of rain. That takes us into the weekend as well. Again, the air is cool if we follow the isobars back. Look, you can see that the air is originating from up there somewhere to the very far north, so it's likely to be quite cool air coming down across the country at weekend. Into next week, there's that little nose of high pressure, that little ridge building on Monday, giving us quite a nice start to August. That could still be in the south on Tuesday, but low pressure is starting to gather in the Atlantic. As we go through into the middle of next week, low pressure is moving in from the west, and we go through up to day 10, which is Thursday the 4th of August, looking very unsettled by then. That could be quite a soaker of a scenario, actually, because there's low pressure here, there's low pressure here. There's likely to be some sort of weather front strung out. And there's also some pretty warm air trying to feed up from the south and very cool air coming down from the north. So that will fuel the front. If the front does become strung out like that, the temperature gradients are going to fuel potentially some quite wet weather. So it could turn very wet, actually, if that one was to come off into the middle of next week. If I show you the upper air temperatures, you can see very warm in the south, really quite cool air for time of year to the north, and as I say, there is a front that's dividing that in this sort of zone So that's likely to be quite a soaker as well. That's 10 days, mate. It's a long way off, so I wouldn't be all that concerned about it. But I think the overall idea, certainly as we're going through to the end of July and inside of August, is that the charts are looking quite unsettled. So it may be we've got a bit of a deterioration taking place in terms of the southeast of the country, where things have been pretty decent over the past few weeks. Could well be that we're going to see bands of rain becoming increasingly heavy as they move south and east, particularly into next week. Temperatures look like they're going to take a bit of a slide as well. So, that's how it's looking, I'm afraid. It's not great news. But we've had a decent summer, as I say, down in the southeast, so we can't really complain. It's never been very good in the northwest, though. And it just looks like those of you in the north and west, you're going to see your more unsettled summer starting to penetrate across the rest of the country. Right, we'll be doing the CFS tomorrow. We'll have a look at the CFS for the next month, so come back for that tomorrow. That's all now. Thanks for watching.